Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we welcome you back to the 500 Mile Podcast. My name is Justin Kolb alongside Michael Skinner. Michael, we had some racing this weekend for one last time in Fontana, California, potentially. A very cold weekend and got some different vantage points this weekend. One at the track and one from TV.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think it was a pretty successful weekend for you and myself. I don't think that we're gonna sit here and complain too much about the finish to the cup race. So I think this will be a pretty good little show here. I think we're a little biased on the finish.
Yeah, just a little bit, but that's all right. So we'll just jump straight into it. Obviously, you can probably tell by the hat. The Apollo Casino hat was at the track this weekend, just Sunday. I did have a ticket for Saturday. Ended up not going because I didn't think there'd be a race, and I mean they're almost. I won't say there almost was, but I mean they got closer than I thought they were gonna get with cars on track. So I got really worried there for a second that I made the wrong decision, but I was kind of monitoring the weather the whole time, and I could tell that the rain was not too far away. So glad I didn't make the trip on Saturday, only because that's an hour and a half drive, and that wouldn't have been fun. So um, Sunday, however, was bitterly cold. 40 degrees pretty much all day. That may not sound very cold to, a lot of people around the country, but let me just say for Southern California, that's really cold. Um,
Plus, plus, I will sit here and contest that when I go to the Rolex every January here in the state of Florida. It seems like that day is always the coldest part of any Florida day ever. And I don't know, I think this year was a little bit warmer, but last year, I think it got down to like 32. And sitting in stands at anything under 50 degrees is really cold because, you know, when we walk around on the ground, you don't really feel too much wind. But as soon as you start going, 20, 30, 40 feet up in the air, it doesn't matter if you can feel no wind or not. There's a breeze coming from somewhere and it's cold. So I can contest that. Being up in those stands, it was probably 10 degrees colder in the stands than it was standing on the ground.
that's certainly what it felt like. I had my dad with me, and yeah, we were both like looking at the weather. It said 40, and I was like, nah, it feels
Yeah.
colder. He was wearing three jackets because it was that bad. I had on my blue jacket. I got this new jacket. Both of those were on for the Xfinity race. I kind of powered through the Cup race, but um, yeah, I can't believe we had snow on Saturday, legitimate snow. And it was crazy to see because like maybe like 20 minutes away from the track, it literally looked like a whole different state. Like the amount of snow that some of the places got in Fontana up there, Rancho Cucamonga, I know got some snow. It was pretty insane. It did not look like California. I didn't get any of that down here. We've been getting a bunch of hail, weirdly enough, but um, it's going into to Sunday. It was really cold. Glad we didn't get any rain on Sunday. That was all Saturday, and then they probably got some Monday. But obviously, the news dropped Friday on that track that any slim chance that we thought that we may have been, maybe we could reverse the decision to sell this track was kind of all lost. That deal is done. NASCAR got an estimated $544 million for that track. They only have 89 acres left. And that it was pretty bittersweet on Sunday, you know, based off what we saw for those two races. Just, fantastic races, at least from where I was sitting. Not just because my driver won, but just the racing that we saw there in general. Drivers able to move to different lines, move around with their car, find lines that worked for them. I don't know that we have very many of those tracks left, and it was nice to see that. So, um,
Two. Well, technically three. I'll give it three. Kansas, Homestead, and Las Vegas. That's it.
yeah.
I don't think we have another one.
So
It's funny. It's funny now how the all the good tracks are mile and a half, which you hated 5 years ago.
yeah, and now
I
his
think,
car makes him run
yeah,
well, but
I kind of think like the most disappointing part of the whole Auto Club thing is, man, it's kind of Atlanta's a little different. They were always going to keep Atlanta there. It's part of NASCAR history for the past 20 or so years. So it's that racetrack was never really going to leave. But with Auto Club, man, we kind of just, unfortunately, as race fans, we did it to ourselves. Uh, you
Yeah.
know, you know, 20 or so years ago, which doesn't seem that long ago, like in aspects, but 20 or so years ago, to 10 years ago, all of the opinions on the mile and a half have, have completely changed. It went back to people love mile and a halves. They built 15 of them. Then, the car became the problem. Right. The racetrack was never the issue. The different versions of cars really became the problem. I thought Auto Club raced really well with the COT. I think even with the Gen 4, I think Auto Club raced pretty well. Unfortunately, with the Gen 6, I feel like the Gen 6 kind of ruined a lot of things for us. I think it ruined ruined Chicagoland for us. Um, and it kind of ruined a couple other places as well. But unfortunately, man, it's not the track's fault. That track is so much fun. I think my one wish for Auto Club going forward is that iRacing could ever figure out a goddamn tire model um, to where the only preservation that we have of that racetrack is in iRacing. That we're able to get somewhat close to how that place raced in real life, because I'm sure watching on TV doesn't do that place near enough justice. As as somebody watching on TV, you don't get the whole picture, and I think that goes for a lot of other racetracks as well. You don't get the full story. There's not just battles for first and second and third the whole race. There's battles through the top 15 that are probably better than the battle for the lead. Uh, so in that aspect, that's but I think that a lot of that falls on a Fox too. I don't think they give us the widest angle to see all the action. So, but yeah, I think that's the thing I'm most disappointed about is honestly we just did it to ourselves as race fans. We took what we had for granted in one of the best racetracks that I think that we've ever gone to. Um, you know, kind of like I think it was Brett Griffin, I think, said it on DBC. What other racetrack are we racing five wide in the center of the corner? Like man, it's a sad day. Like you said, I'm glad KB won the final one there. You know, honestly, if it wasn't Kyle, I was kind of hoping it'd be Kevin. Just because, but uh yeah, disappointed that we did it to ourselves. The one thing I gotta say is, man, I appreciate the places that we have left. I know we're all pretty
Yes.
excited about North Wilkesboro coming back, but we can't bitch and complain about the racing at Homestead, or we're gonna lose that one too. That I think that racetrack's been on the brink of disaster for a couple years now. Um, once it kind of lost the championship race, um, man, that I don't know if you've ever been to Miami, but it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. But it's a lot of residential areas around that, and I know a lot of people kind of bitch and complain about noise and things like that, even though it's just friggin' 3 days out of the year. I mean, I don't know, you
Yeah,
can't
one
just get the
weekend.
fuck over it. But uh but yeah, that's another one, man. You gotta show the support. You guys gotta go out. You can't just go out for the last one and hope that saves it. You gotta go out now, you know, man. I don't know. I hate losing it. I hate losing it to more industrial and more businesses and things like that. You hated seeing Chicagoland go, because I think Chicagoland was probably right up there with Auto Club as one of the best racing racetracks that we had. So we lost that one. We lost Auto Club. We can't afford to lose anymore, or we're going to be on nothing but short tracks and new paved super speedways. So I honestly don't think that's the direction that we want to go, um, because it's clear that NASCAR isn't listening to the drivers and really the teams at this point on racetracks and where they want to go. So it's up to us as fans to keep the places that we hold near and dear to our heart, to keep that going. Uh, Homestead eventually is going to need to repave, and by the sound of what Denny was talking about, the way they do it now is a lot of plastics and things like that, so it doesn't wear as fast as it used to. I mean, look at Michigan. Michigan's still basically a one groove racetrack, and it was repaved. Oh man, right around the same time Kansas was, and it has harsher weather than Kansas, I think. So, um, but yeah, just man, go to the racetrack. That's all I can say. If you have a racetrack, um, even if it doesn't produce that side by side finish every year, go to the racetrack, go there, or it will shut down. We're the only ones that's going to keep these places open, and we gotta go out. We gotta spend some cash and make sure that it's there for our kids for the next generation. Because I'm tired of seeing places like this go.
Well, I mean, that was the one solace that we can take out. Sold out event on Sunday, even in, like I said, 40-degree weather. The weirdest part, and I wouldn't even say weird, the coolest part was normally people, at the start of the race, they stand up for the restarts, and then maybe 5 laps later, they're sitting down. They were standing for 20, 30 plus laps. And I don't know, that was probably due to the cold, just trying to get some temperature in them. But I mean, that
Yeah.
was quite literally the case. Normally, I kind of take the hint when people start sitting down. But I mean, I would say maybe the first 50 laps of the race, I was standing up with everybody else, just kind of taking it all in, enjoying it. Um, that's probably been one of the best parts about that track is, the last few years that we've been out there, the fans have really come out to support that track. And I don't know if, the Coliseum, the addition of that had anything to do with it, especially last year when you start there, then go to Daytona and then come back. Obviously that brings some of the fans over, but I don't know how big of an impact that had, but was happy to see there were a ton of people in that infield, or not infield, the the fan area and everything like that on Sunday. Probably a little too many, but I mean, I'd rather have that than nobody there. So it was good to see that. They saw a great race. They're probably a little cold, but I mean, the people who powered through it saw a great race. And the people who stuck around saw a pretty good Xfinity race too. I will say the Xfinity race was probably one of the harshest races I've ever been to in terms of the cold. Um, that was it was pretty brutal. It was to the point because we were. I posted my seat on Twitter, but we were pretty much up as high as you could go. Not up, obviously, where the spotters are, but basically in terms of seating, as high up as you could go. And walking back to the car, I could barely feel my legs just because it was that cold. So, um, but I'm glad I stuck around. Um, Glad I got to stay at that place until final moments. I'm gonna miss that place. Definitely a part of my childhood,
Mine too.
adulthood, um, and a very special place in my heart. But you know, is what it is at this point. It's officially gone. I am kind of in. Denny made a comment on his podcast about not knowing if it's going to come back, thinking it's done. I'm unfortunately kind of in that same boat at this point. And that really just comes from the fact that there's been no news or anything brought up on that track. We had the one render, I guess, the one blueprint that came out, a year ago at this point, and we haven't heard anything since. I heard, I forget what news article it was from or what publishing it was from, but the president of Auto Club Speedway basically just said that essentially just said there's nothing really to announce yet, and he hopes that, as the year goes on, that he can announce stuff. But I mean, that doesn't leave you with a whole bunch of hope for a track that, just announced that most of its land is sold and there's no real plan for the future at this point. So it just doesn't leave you with a lot of optimism that we're going to be building in that area again. And, in all honesty, that area that it's in, it's quite literally just all industrial. Sure, you got some things building up around near it, but in all honesty, you get off that 10 freeway, and that's pretty much all you see. A bunch of truck stops, factories, warehouses, and for whatever reason, there's a big old racetrack in the middle of that. So, we could pick up, move somewhere else. We could build a short track in there. I guess we're just going to have to kind of wait and see, but I don't unfortunately have a lot of hope based off what everything I've read that, we will be coming back there. Obviously, we know we're not coming back next year, but I honestly don't even know if there is going to be a future on that plot of land for NASCAR anymore. So, we'll just have to keep our ears to the ground for the rest of the year, unfortunately.
The one thing I can take from that is I kind of agree with Junior. What he said on the download yesterday is why would NASCAR at 544 million that they sold it for, um, that other 90 acres was probably worth probably another 100 million maybe. So why would NASCAR leave that really on the table if they weren't going to try to use it for something? I don't I think I think NASCAR has a plan for it. I think right now, we kind of talked about it earlier. I think the biggest question now is what are they going to do with it? Um, I mean, we kind of talked about it earlier. It could be a half mile, could be a 3/4 mile, could be a mile. I mean, we honestly don't know. It could be, um, it could be a mile Martinsville. Who knows? Who really knows at this point? The only thing we do know is it's not going to be a super speedway, a mile and a half, or a road course. So at least we can take solace in that. We're not getting another damn road course.
I guess, that is
But
true.
the fact that they still own that piece of land and they didn't sell it, it wasn't part of the deal, and then they made the deal to lease, a little bit of property for parking, does kind of give me hope that maybe they'll do something. I think my biggest concern now is just what kind of racetrack are we gonna get? Not so much as if we're gonna go back. I definitely think that NASCAR wants to be in LA. I think they desperately think that they need to be in LA. Um, so I think that they'll do what they can to be in the LA market. Um, because the Clash isn't going to be a points paying race. I'm sorry, they
They
can't make the
can't.
Coliseum a points paying race.
They
It's
can't.
ridiculous, and I think NASCAR would lose all credibility if they did something ridiculously stupid like that.
It's fun as
Um,
an exhibition, but it cannot be a points
yeah,
race.
yeah, it's fun for what it is. That's like making an All-Star game, in baseball or football worth, I don't know, playoff spot or something for the winning side, one automatic berth or something. So yeah, definitely, interesting to see where it goes from here. iRacing is going to be involved heavily here, especially with the last few racetracks that have been redone. Um, so yeah, so I think that'll be something to look forward to. I know, Justin, you're pretty upset about losing the 2 mile oval, but I think that maybe something new will be something nice. I heard that the racetrack was pretty outdated with amenities and things like that. So
It definitely was, because I was texting you, and that was pretty much
shitty.
all I could do. I've tried to
Yeah,
post a picture of my seat, and it ended up going out 20 minutes later.
yeah.
I will say
So
though, in all fairness, once everybody left for the Cup race and the Xfinity race started,
got
service
that
was
good
great.
service.
Service was great,
Hey, there you
but
go.
that's going to be one thing that they're definitely going to have to take care of, and all tracks should be doing that at this point. If you can't send out a tweet on race day, what are we doing?
That's true.
Spend that extra money. Just get Wi-Fi at the track. We can't. It's 2023. That's quite literally not an option anymore.
But I think all that will come with a new track, and new stuff. I was kind of worried when I heard that they wanted to keep the front stretch grandstands and things like that. When I think that's honestly, I think that's the last thing you want to do. They need to fully rebuild that place. Kind of
Yeah,
like they did Daytona a couple years ago. They rebuilt all the grandstands and things like that. It's super nice. The amenities are nice. Chairs are nice.
and
Um,
nobody wants to sit on metal bleachers anymore. Let me tell you.
yeah, and I think the one thing too is that the
Not even the
stands
nice seats,
will.
by the way, were good. They were still metal. Like the seats I set up
Yeah,
for the Xfinity race way up high, they were still metal. Like what the
yeah.
hell?
The one thing too is like once you get like the nice seats, the stands looked more packed. There'll actually be less people in the stands. But for TV reference, it will look much more packed. And then note they will not have to defend themselves when they say that it is a sold out crowd and half the seats up top are empty.
Indeed.
but yeah, no. Yeah, I think I'll get worried if we get to the end of the year and we hear nothing. If we get to the end of the year and we hear nothing, then I'll be like, it's not looking too good. But uh, yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be good. Um, I think it'll be good in the long run. I think NASCAR is going to work really, really hard on the short track package within the next 2-3 years to get it to where I think they want it to be. I don't think groove tires is the way to go. I think that's absolutely fucking ridiculous.
Well, why don't we just
And
kind
I
of
think
segue into the changes
less
they made then with
horsepower
that?
is ridiculous, but so
Why don't we just segue
yeah.
into the short track package? They did make some changes this week, or announced
Yes.
it at least. I'm not sure if you have all the details to that, but I mean, at least to me, I'm gonna have to see it before I make an opinion on it. But they did make some seem like significant changes with the underbody. I know they made some changes with the spoiler. Um, and I mean, again, we'll have
Yeah,
to see it on track. But go ahead.
they took away the strakes from uh, the diffuser, which I think that the diffuser. I said last year. I think the diffuser. We were sitting here 7 months ago, coming off of what was it, Richmond 2 maybe, and I said that they need to just get rid of the diffuser, anyways. So I don't think with this car, I don't think that that is a option, but I think getting rid of these strakes in the middle is a first sign. And they also made um, my phone is not cooperating, or I'd pull up the exact thing, but I know the strakes on the side of the diffuser are also going to be much shorter than um, than they were last year, and they are at regular racetracks. So they also changed the engine panel strakes as well, the diffuser strakes on the sides and in the middle, and they reduced the spoiler to a 2-inch rear spoiler. So I know there's options out there that if this doesn't work, they may go no spoiler, um, which again, most of the downforce is generated by the diffuser, anyways. But definitely, if you guys want to know the exact things and laid out like an engineer would tell you, you need to follow Bozzy on Twitter. He is
The
got
man.
all the information. Yeah, he's literally the man. I mean, the guy has diagrams, everything, literally of what it's going to look like, what it's not going to look like. So I'll see. So like here is kind of what's going to be there, and then what's going to be taken off. You can see there, the spoiler is getting smaller, as well as the diffuser rakes are going to vanish. It says it'll take around 30% downforce away from what it had. I I I still think the package is going to struggle. Um, I think the biggest problem is just we have such wide tires and such big brakes that kind of will take away downforce. The downforce is somewhat important, but you could give that 30% downforce back and give them smaller tires and worse brakes, and it would produce better racing with the same amount of downforce. I mean, look at how much downforce the Gen 6 produced at everywhere. So we got to figure out the tires. The tires are too wide, they're too good. That's the main problem. uh, and us as race fans, we want tires that wear out, but then we complain about how Richmond raced last year, where tires ultimately won versus a different tire strategy. So uh, yeah, I don't know. I think the biggest problem is the tires. Goodyear can't make a tire that wears too bad or it makes them look bad. um, Fans want door-to-door racing, but we also want comers and goers. Us as race fans, man, we're a finicky group. You know, I'd hate to see some of our wives and girlfriends and how much we nitpick anything they do. That's all I'm saying. But I think those are positive changes. I think they're going in the right direction. Um, I think the tires and the brakes are probably the biggest problem. Maybe even just give them smaller brakes, make the brake zones a little bit bigger. But my personal opinion, I think the racing will be the same. I don't think it'll be any different. I think it'll look exactly the same. If you told me that there was a difference in the package, I probably wouldn't believe you. When we go to we go to Martinsville or Richmond first. Martinsville.
I am looking that up right now.
I think it's Martinsville. I think we go to Martinsville first. But yeah, so
I guess technically
that's
we're gonna go to Phoenix first, or is
it's
that
not
not
really
part?
that's not really short. I mean, yes and no, but I think the corners there are too fast. I think Phoenix always puts on shitty ass racing, anyways.
I'll have to verify if that's part of that package. I feel like it is, but we can
But
check on that.
the only time Phoenix put on good racing was in the Gen 4 era. Let's
That's
be honest.
that's fair.
Um, honestly, and it had nothing to do with the Gen 4, to be honest with you. It was the racetrack. The racetrack was better. I don't know why they reconfigured it. Um, they could have just moved the start finish line without all the taking away all the grass and things like that. Because now we just slam onto the apron and do all that dumb shit. But no, well,
All right. So this next topic, Michael, I want both of us to take off our bias hats here because, I mean, it's kind of interesting. Kyle Busch, fast at the Clash, could have won it. I mean, if he didn't get spun out, it's debatable. He was fast at the Clash, fast in the 500, and won at
won the
Auto
five.
Club.
We won the 500. We won the Daytona 500. We just didn't win the Daytona 529.
This is true. But very fast out of the gate. I'm very aware we have a very long season ahead of us that doesn't end until November. However,
What did I tell you last week? What did I tell you last week?
I don't even
Where
remember.
did we have to go to first before I was like, okay, I think we're gonna be all right. Phoenix. We got to go to Phoenix and we have to perform. If we run 20th at Phoenix, it doesn't matter how good we do the rest of the year. We get to Phoenix, we'll suck. Doesn't matter. Um, like I said, we are moving. So I kind of look at it like this. If you go back and look at Kyle's career as a whole, um, if you look at like the first half of his career, his best racetracks, which were a lot of Joe Gibbs' best racetracks, were the short tracks. They won at Dover, they won at Richmond, they won at Martinsville a lot. They won at Bristol a lot. Joe Gibbs was kind of known as that short track race team. That's where they performed well. Then once Jimmy, so basically like in the 2010s, Jimmy Johnson won so many of his championships because he was so good on the mile and a half. Yes, he was a good short track racer, but he finished top 5 at every mile and a half. That's where he won his championships, right? Because the last 10 races were built up of what, 8 mile and a halves at one point. So that's where he won the championships, when being good at the mile and a half. So then if you kind of look over his career, his short track numbers have actually slowed down significantly from where they were at. They started picking up on the 2 mile ovals, on the mile and a halves, and things like that. I mean, when's the last time that he won at Richmond? 2012, I think. And that was that was by far his best racetrack. At one point in time, the guy had an average finish of like 4.9 through the first 12 years of, I think, his career. So, but since then, he still runs pretty well there, but he just hasn't really, he hasn't won.
I feel like his last one was 2018, actually.
Yeah, you're right. He came both of them in 2018. He came from last, both races, ironically enough.
Yeah,
but
right.
My point is,
I get what you're saying. Yes, yeah.
The mile and a half became a bigger factor for the schedule, right? Joe Gibbs focused more on the mile and a halves. They significantly got better, and I think by last year, they were the best team on the mile and a half. So their car wasn't very good anywhere else except for the mile and a halves and Pocono, right? They weren't very good on road courses. They weren't good at short tracks. They were good at mile and a halves. So now roll over into 2023, and it's kind of the same argument that I brought up earlier when we were talking. Let's go back to like a 1995 schedule. We're losing, like, at this point, I think 25% of our mile and a halves, because you can't really count Atlanta anymore. So what mile and a halves do you have left? So yes, they're important, and you need to be really good at those, which I think Kyle will be good this weekend. I think when we go to Kansas, Kyle will be good. I think when we go to Pocono, Kyle will be good. I don't have a concern at those racetracks. Right. I think when he goes to Texas, I think they'll be good, right? The 8 car won the last Texas race last year. My concern are the short tracks. You're going to have to win a short track in the chase, or the playoffs, whatever they call it now. You're going to have to win a playoff short track race to win a championship. And that's the end of it, right? The first round, what does the first round end with? Bristol, I think. First round, I think, ends with Bristol, right? The next round, what is it? The next round actually, I think, has Super Speedway, mile and a half, and the Roval, I think.
Yeah, Texas, Talladega, and then the Roval.
right? And then
Agreed.
we go into the next round. Then you have Martinsville and Phoenix, right? Those are kind of the two that are left.
Vegas home. Yeah, yeah. Vegas, Homestead, then Martinsville, then you have
Martinsville,
Phoenix.
Phoenix. So you're gonna have to win one. You're gonna have to win a short track race to win the championship. In the final 10 races, you're gonna have to win it one. Um, that's that's kind of my opinion. Throughout the year, if you're gonna want to get as many stage points as possible to, bump those up, kind of like Kyle said in his post race press conference, every year he's won the championship. It's because he had a lot of playoff points, right? He didn't have to worry about winning. He did go out there and win some races, but at the end of the day, his two championships, he didn't win. His last win before his championship win at Homestead, I think, was in July, right? But he built up so many playoff points from wins early in the season that he made it to the championship for. You're going to have to do that, but now it's not mile and a halfs. It is now at road courses and short tracks. So Phoenix is going to be a big one for me, and so is Coda. If we go to Coda and we go to Phoenix, and I think we finish top 5 both races, I will say that he will do extremely well this year. Um, but yeah, I'm super happy. Don't get me wrong. I loved every second of it. I don't think that I prayed for caution less in the last 20 laps than I ever have in my
You and me
life,
both. You
because
and me
I was
both.
literally just waiting on it. And there was like 5 cars that hit a wall. He almost got Eric Jones again. He almost got Brad Keselowski. And I was like, just, at one point in time, I was like, can everybody just get away from the friggin' wall? What do you have to gain at this point?
I
Um,
don't think I've celebrated harder for a white flag to come out. Not gonna lie
oh,
to you.
dude, listen, you and me both, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I just want to get to the white flag. Luckily, TV is behind Twitter. So I was able to refresh Twitter those last 5 laps a little quicker than I was to watch TV. So when we got to the white flag, I was pretty content. I think there was still like 4 laps left on TV when Twitter got the white flag. So, but yeah, I'm super pumped, man. Listen, I think this is huge. I think it's huge for Kyle's confidence. I think it's huge for Randall Burnett's confidence in Kyle. I think it's huge for spotter, race car driver communication. They learned a lot this weekend. Kyle kind of chewed him out a little bit.
He
They
did.
kind of
I
got to
listened to
know
that
each
live.
other.
That was interesting. Came out of nowhere.
So, yeah, it's really good. I think the measuring stick, we have to make it past Phoenix. If we run top 5, top 10 Las Vegas, and we go out and run top 5 at Phoenix, I think that the rest of the year is going to be really, really good. Um, because I think once they start building momentum and things like that, I think it's going to be really, really tough to stop them. It kind of reminds me of like a 2008 kind of vibe when Kyle won so early at Joe Gibbs Racing, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. Right? They ran really good at Daytona. They ran really good. I don't even remember what the second race was back then. Um, Anyways, they got to Atlanta, right? And they finally broke through, and then they kind of went on a tear. And I think they won like 3 out of the next 8 races or so. So I think we're kind of looking at a similar situation like that. If they can make it through the West Coast swing in a really, really good spot. The one thing I will say that is a massive, massive difference between the race on Sunday and from 2020 till 2022 at Joe Gibbs Racing, right? In 2020, they couldn't figure out how to do a simulation to save their life, and they were just awful off the trailer, right? Um, the thing that made him and Ben Stevens so good when they first got together was
Oh, Adam.
Adam Stevens. Sorry, Adam. They could make the car better, right? Even in 2020, they didn't. They qualified 30th, right? But they'd finished in the top 10. But it took them so long to get the car right because they didn't have practice, right? So it's not like they didn't run well in 2020. They just could never qualify good enough to win a race. Um, so then we go to 2021, and then Bayshore takes over. He couldn't make a car better to save his life. He actually, I think, made the car worse throughout the race. I mean, I just in all honesty, he kind of did. Kind of remind me of some of Kyle's old crew chiefs. You know, I think Steve Addington was a good example. I don't think he ever made a car any better for Kyle. I just think it was always the same or just good enough. Um, but the one thing that I saw, and I kind of texted you throughout the race, that I don't think that car off the truck was a winning race car, right? I think the one car off the truck was the winning race car. But the one thing that I will say, and even Ross Chastain said it, that 8 car got better, right?
Yep.
It got better. There was a point in time where he was running 6, and I'm like, hey, I think that's the best that that car's got. And I was okay with it, but it got better. He got super loose on that long run, right? At the end, they're trying to chase down Ross Chastain. Kyle told him what they needed. Randall made the adjustment. The car got better. It did not have that at the end. So that is my biggest takeaway from that is if they can do that throughout the year and just make the race car better, I think they're going to qualify top 10, top 15 all year. But if they can make that car better every week when those adjustments are so vital, right? I think that is the most important part. Kind of like the 9 car this week, right? The 9 car came off the trailer, wasn't as good as the 8 car was or the 1 car. But by the end of the race, the 9 car was just as good as the 8 car. So those are the two things that I look at is does the car get better and how much better does it get? So again, if we can go to Las Vegas and we can go to Phoenix and make that car better from where it started, again, we'll have a good year. That's kind of my opinion on that. Good win. I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, I couldn't have been more happy on Sunday. Let me tell you, but I still have reservations to where the season is going to go.
Fair enough. And just to add on to, the communication that you were talking about, listening to it the entire race, I honestly really liked, that team dynamic. Randall was pretty loose on the radio. Asked at one point if Kyle was all right because he didn't say anything. Like he never talked on the radio. And Kyle was like, "You guys just don't know me yet." And Derek on the spotter stand, I felt made it or kept it really positive on the radio. Not just telling him, what was going on, but encouraging him to keep going on, keep moving forward. Um, I think that team, like you said, we're gonna have to see how they finish out the West Coast swing here. But I mean, if they can finish it off as a positive, that team is gonna be pretty scary this year. I feel because I mean, Kyle seems like he's in a better place mentally. That team was already stellar last year, and I mean, for Kyle to just kind of plug in there and for them to take off that quick, it's already looking pretty good. But like you said, we'll have to wait and see how they do down the road here. Just to kind of piggyback off that, I mean, gonna be honest with you, sitting in the stands, there were a lot of people cheering at the end of that. Quite a lot of people. I know a lot of
That
people have made a big deal
it's that
about
bow
this already.
tie. It's
Yeah,
that bow tie brigade.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I was already driving. I have a Camaro out there. I already have a Chevy backpack. That was the one thing missing from my fandom was for him to come back, and now I have it, and everything is complete. So I honestly do think no, because I mean, people say it all the time. They've said it for years. The cheating Toyotas or whatever. Toyota, not in my opinion, but in the eyes of a lot of other fans, that they're not very popular in the sport. And since he has transitioned over from, Chevy and especially RCR, I'm
Fan favorite. I'm telling you,
yeah,
gonna win
yeah,
that. Gonna win that fan vote this year.
I'm not too surprised that people are a lot um I don't know the proper word, not happier, but they're a lot he's more tolerable, I guess,
Yeah.
is the best word to use for that.
I do have one more thing to go back to the that didn't take KB a long conversation that we were having. Are we surprised or shocked that the 8 car was as good as it was after last year? Right? And then there's going to be a two-part question for you, Justin. So, are we surprised that the 8 car was as good as it was? And then does that kind of blueprint the rest of the season? Like if we go to Kansas, are the 2311 cars going to be the best? Are we going to go to the road courses and the 8 car going to be the best at the races that it won? Is it going to be kind of a blueprint for the rest of the season that the teams that were already good at these racetracks are just going to mimic that with this race car?
I mean, it's going to be very interesting to watch. I mean, the fact that, I kind of do forget, or I did forget going into it until everybody pointed it out that 8 car was pretty much lights out last year at that track until he kind of, I guess, blew a tire there on the
Right,
back
right, yeah.
straightaway. And
I think he led like 90 laps.
Yeah.
before the final stage. So
But even at the Clash, that car was fast last year too, before
yep.
it just up and broke. So I mean, that's one thing that I didn't even really consider going into it. And I mean, now looking at it, it kind of makes you think. Yeah, I mean, it very well could be that a lot of the cars that did well at certain tracks last year could just pick up right where they left off. But a counterpoint to that is they've learned so much from these cars. Randall even said that the setup they had on Sunday was completely different from what they had a year ago. So not saying that that makes any sort of difference. I'm just saying the amount of knowledge that you have with these cars um, definitely takes into effect with that. Obviously, we know like Roush Fenway really picked up their road course prowess last year. They could pick up with that. Could add into a lot of other packages this year, short track, stuff like that. So, I mean, we'll have to go, as you said, we'll have to get into a few races this season to really figure out where everybody is. But that would kind of be my thought is guys that were good at certain places last year are probably going to pick up right where they left off. There could be some hiccups here and
Like,
there, but
are we surprised that Toyota wasn't very good and they had similar issues to the ones they had last year, overheating? Like that, I think that's my question, right? It's almost like we had the exact. It's almost like the race played out exactly how it would have played out had the A car won.
yeah,
You had a Joe Gibbs car that was 2 laps down that came back to finish 11th. I think Kyle finished like 13th last year after being a couple of laps down. It's like it just reminded me so much of last year's race,
yeah.
right? Elliott was really
Elliott was
good.
up there. Yep.
The
The
five
five
car was really
was really
fast.
fast at the end of that race. If he didn't
Yeah,
have his engine issues to start, he was probably going to be a factor in that.
yeah, the 5 car is really fast. It kind of seemed like the same players from last year, right? So if we go to Las Vegas and the 54, the 11, the 19, if they're running 1, 2, 3, are we going to say, okay, this is deja vu, right? And then are we going to go down a rabbit hole for the rest of the season, right? It's almost like, do we need something to break away from last year to get us kind of straightened out for this year?
I mean, that could just happen naturally too. As we go to these racetracks, a second, third time with these new cars, you're only going to learn more. So, it very well could be that maybe at the beginning of the season we start to see, more of the same. But I would imagine by the end of the season, at least, we're probably going to be seeing some sort of differences. Maybe not monumental differences in, where everybody's at, but I would imagine you'd probably see some differences. But it doesn't necessarily surprise me thinking about it now, this early in, that we're kind of seeing the same players at the same place that they were last year, especially with some of these tracks that we only went to once last year, like Auto Club. We only went there once last year and kind of saw all the same players. I mean, you have Michigan that we go to as well, but that's arguably not the same track because it's not, you drive those completely different because one just got recently repaved where one has been stuck in the 90s for 26 years. I guess not anymore, but yeah, I mean, that's going to be really interesting to kind of watch as we go through the season, how people adjust, if there's people that, make gains or fall behind or stuff like that. So it's definitely going to be fascinating.
Yeah, that's why I kind of wanted to bring it up. It's just some similarities and things like that. Things that we saw last year, right? So we go to Texas for the All Star race. Yes, the 18 car was fast, but I honestly think the best car there was the 8 car for the All Star race. But he kind of crashed himself. And then who wins at Texas when we go back in November? The 8 car. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be rather interesting to see if these teams that were good at these places last year are just going to pick up where they left off. Like, would I be shocked if 23-11 goes and wins Kansas? No. But I would be kind of scratching my head to see if maybe that's kind of how the racing is just going to evolve. That once you hit on something somewhere, it's kind of yours
Yeah.
type of thing. So, because I mean, there's no, I don't know. It's hard for me to believe there's a coincidence that the 8 car was fast at California last year, fast this year, was fast at Texas for the All Star race, wins the race in November. 23-11 wins both Kansas races. There's always going to be those outliers, but like, it just seems like there's a very solid common,
Common
you know,
denominator.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely be something to be interested in. Again, man, I think the biggest tell for how the season's gonna go is going to be man, it's gonna be Phoenix. That's gonna be the biggest one for me. If we go out there, like I said, if KB runs top five, I think anybody in the top five there, if they leave there with a top five finish, I think everybody's gonna be super confident. Um, we'll just kind of see how it goes from there.
That may be, well, I was gonna say that may be the one outlier because I don't know if anybody from Phoenix One ran the same in Phoenix Two, maybe other than Ross, but I know it was completely different situation. So, all right, well, I think that's unfortunately it for Auto Club at this point. I guess we can move on to Vegas and what's going on there. Obviously, we got a triple header this weekend. Our boy's going to be in all three, making his um, exit from retirement out of Xfinity this weekend. I'm really glad that I bought that 5-pack from his 2021 campaign and thought that was going to be it.
Boo.
Yeah.
Boo. I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't want to hurt that win percentage.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
it's it's probably going to take a little dip, but I do think that he can probably make that team a lot
I
better.
don't know.
So,
What? He's gonna go out and win all three and make us look real stupid.
I think so. I think
Oh, dude.
he's
Let me
just
tell
built
you,
different this year.
if he goes and wins all three races at Las Vegas, I will just put him down as the champion.
You're going to put him in
I,
the
I'm
4 right
serious.
there.
No, no, I'll just put him
You put
down.
him
I'll
in,
put one. I'll put just one and put down Kyle Busch.
yeah.
And it's not even because I'm a fan. If the guy can switch teams, switch manufacturers, and go and just win everything, right? I mean, I I don't know. It's I don't know, man. This could be a scary Kyle Busch. I think everybody's right. I think we are on the breaking edge of something very, very, very interesting. It does, like I said, man, kind of brings me that back to that 2008 vibe. It didn't end very well, but man, if we could get, listen. I told you last year that my goal, he kind of fucked it up for the last 3 years, but man, the goal's got to be 76. We got to get to 76 before he retires.
Oh, he's going to get there. I don't
We
have any
gotta.
doubt about that.
I don't know. You gotta think that's 15 wins.
My man's
We're
got
15
8 to
wins
10 more
away.
years left. That's
I don't
all I'm
know
going to say.
about 10. 10's like 47. I think he's got like 5 years left. So I think
Nah.
he's got till 43. And
I
that's six, actually. I can't even do math. I
Well,
don't know.
all I'm going to say is I made my championship prediction in 2021 at Las
All I'm
Vegas and I was
all I'm
correct. So, we'll
all I'm saying with that is that can you imagine if Kyle gets 76, which we all know what 76 wins is,
yep.
at RCR in an RCR race car? Would be
Could be interesting.
rather interesting. Um,
Indeed.
but yeah, all right. So, uh, all right. Listen. You
Called my
won the
shot.
cup race last week. You called your shot. So you get to pick first.
Oh, I get to pick. Oh, okay, I was going to let you pick
You get
first, but all right.
no no winner picks first.
I mean, I could just go back to back here, but I'm not going to do that. Man, oh man, oh
Oh,
man.
all right. So should we make it interesting? If that driver wins, you can't pick them until the playoffs.
I don't like that rule.
All right. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
I'm not gonna pick him again for a while. I don't think, unless something monumental happens. But um, I think I'm gonna steal your pick from last week. With Truex for the. Actually, are we starting with Cup or what are we doing here?
No,
Which way are we going?
We gotta start with the NAS trucks.
Okay, we'll go the Craftsman Truck Series. I'm so glad we get to say that again. This one I'm gonna have to look through a little bit. Man, I could just pick. Well, maybe not Zane. I'm gonna pick John Hunter Nemechek. Actually,
That was actually gonna be my pick.
well, I'm doing it again. 2 weeks in a row.
Yep.
I'm just stealing them right from under you. Except this week you gave me the opportunity. So
Yep. That's true, but that's what I get for losing.
this is sure.
Ah, man. Man. You know, John Emmer Humacek was gonna be my first pick, but I don't know, man. How good are they gonna be? That is my question.
Yeah,
Um,
that is a fair question as well. Could just
I
pick your
think
man. I mean, you you made your call that he was gonna sweep it.
uh no, I actually think that this is going to be the weekend that Carson Hocevar wins.
Man, all right. We'll have to see. He's not. He said that he was retiring the hats until he went to Victory Lane. So, have to see. If you're not aware, he would wear different types of hats every week if you weren't on Twitter. But yeah, wear a bunch of goofy hats. All right. Saturday. I'm gonna pick Sammy Smith. That man showed a lot of promise this week.
I think it's a good pick.
Raced pretty smart last week, not gonna lie. I know he got spun out there, but I mean, kind of watching him and Josh Berry go at it, he was he's definitely gonna win a few races this year, is what I will say.
Listen. Josh Berry hit everything but the pace car.
I That was so interesting, just kind of watching him go into turn one, not seeing him again, and then just listening to TJ say hold the brakes, and then yeah, just completely destroying Reddick, and then almost going to heaven on the front straightaway. So
As as Joe Logano said, he smushed him.
yep, smushed.
All right.
I heard that Joey said "Oh jeepers" on the broadcast this week. By the way,
Yes,
is
he
this
did.
true? Wow.
By the way,
I wish I
how
could
is
have.
it that the lower series not only has the better race car, has the faster race car, and has the better booth? How is it that we just don't get rid of the Cup Series and just have Xfinity full time as the main
because
series?
because you can't have Cup drivers in the Cup booth because they're racing. But
Yeah, but you
um,
can't find somebody else.
man, as much as I
It's like,
love Mike Joy, I'm not gonna lie to you. As much as I love Mike Joy, man, like Double A just brings so much more energy to that booth,
yeah,
and I'm not trying to put Mike Joy down at all because that man was my childhood. I love him to death, but just
it's time
listening
for him to
to
retire.
he, yeah,
He
like
needs to
maybe
retire.
maybe this year should be his last. I'm not trying to force him to retirement. Like I said, I love him, but Adam Alexander just recently can bring so much more energy into a booth. I feel, but he's definitely going to be the replacement once Mike goes, but kind of do have to question how much longer Mike's going to go. Maybe he'll give it one more year with Clinton Harvick in the booth and see how it works out, but
I hope
that's
not.
just kind of my opinion. I do
All
like that he's
right.
doing the trucks now.
Yeah,
And I'm going to be honest, I think Jamie Little should just stay on pit road because she is a wonderful pit road reporter. In the booth, she's not fantastic, but that's all I'm going to
that's
say.
fair.
I love her on
That's
pit
fair.
road though. Don't ever let her go there.
All right, so I want to go. I want to actually go back to California for a second, right? Just kind of a quick
All right.
ironic thing, right? I texted you this, right? But I didn't get your opinion on it. So Kyle, right, wins the cup race,
Mhm.
and Ben Bayshore wins on the same day. Is that not ironic? Like, come on,
I'm
that's
pretty sure
kind of
you
be.
can. Man, like I feel like you could have stuck anybody in those Joe Gibbs cars and they could have won no matter what crew chief was in there.
But it's come on, you can't say that it's not like, oh, that's
I didn't even know
ironic.
that he was still crew chiefing, honestly, until you sent that. I
Yeah,
was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't send
yeah.
anything back because I don't really care about that man anymore. He can
It is
kick
kind of
rocks for
funny
all I care. It is funny, but that man can kick rocks.
All right, so um, here's my question to you, Justin.
All right.
Are they going to be running the wall at Las Vegas? How far up the racetrack are we going to go?
That is a good question.
Because I have multiple different winners depending on what lane we're going to run.
Oh boy. Well, you don't have options, unfortunately. You don't have a
Right?
backup plan.
If we run the wall, I think Cole Custer is going to win.
Yeah, but
But
I
if we
also feel
run,
like you could just put Cole Custer in for any week, and I mean, he could probably bring you home a win.
I don't know. But if we run the bottom, I think Joe Gibbs cars are going to win. I really don't.
I think it's probably going to be a bottom. If I had to give you an answer,
Uh,
I think it's going to be the bottom.
I really don't want to pick Ben Bayshore and Jonathan Nemechek, and I really don't want to pick Joe Graf. Ugh,
Again, he
my
texted
options.
me. Michael texted me that Joe Graf was in the race. I was like, dude, I quite literally forgot about him.
Hey, he got a good finish. I
Did
gotta
he?
admit, he got a good finish. But yeah, I
Where'd he
think he finished
finish?
like top 13 or something.
It's a
That's
Joe
pretty
Gibbs
good for
car.
him. But still, I mean, that dude dropped like a rock. Ah, man, this is a tough one. Uh, you know what? You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pick the 10 car.
Okay. All
Just
right.
because Cole Custer, I don't know. And I can't, I just can't, I can't pick, I can't physically pick a Jacobs racing car anymore, especially one that has Ben Bayshore on it. And then my other choice is Joe Graf Jr.
I mean, the dude literally won last week, though.
Yes, but I just don't like Ben Bayshore.
Fair enough. I quite literally said the same thing a minute ago.
I I like John Hunter Nemechek. I just don't like Ben Bayshore.
This is fair. This is fair.
call me petty, okay?
Not
You
not to
call
get
me
off
petty.
track here. Not to get off track here, but I also did not like Dave Rogers. I never got your opinion on Dave Rogers. Did you like him?
Dave Rogers kind of reminded me of Ben Bayshore.
That's how I felt. Okay.
The car, look, listen. The cars that Dave Rogers brought out of the shop for Kyle were really good. Like we won quite a few races with Dave Rogers, but we couldn't make bad cars better. Right? That's been the difference in Kyle's career. Right? He started winning championships when Adam Stevens made cars better. That's the difference, in my opinion. They just never made cars better.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, I already said who I'm picking for the Cup race in Truex, so I will let you go. Also, is it weird to you yet? Not that you had to type it out. That we're just for Kyle, we're just putting down Bush instead of Kai Bush. Is that sunk in yet?
Uh, Not really. I don't know. I never really kind of looked at them as Ku and Kai, I guess. I kind of just always knew, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, let's see. Ty Dillon's looking really good.
That's a way to lose very quickly.
Two engines blowing back. Bro, come on. Like, there's no way Ty Dillon can be that bad. Like, dude, he was pretty
I
good in the 13 car.
He was, and then
So,
he just dropped like a rock and everything
oh,
else. It sucks because he's my favorite out of the two, but poor guy just can't catch a break.
hmm. Oh, man. I had so many good choices here. Oh, I am as much as it really pains me. Like it really pains me to do this. I
Ty.
think I'm gonna pick. No, I think I'm gonna pick Joey Logano.
Okay, that's a good pick. He's got
Yeah,
that
it's a good pick. It's a good pick.
that Steve Park looking car this week. Good looking
It
car.
looks real good. I think my other choice was like Ross Chastain,
Okay,
but I dislike Ross Chastain a little more than I dislike Joey Logano.
that's fair. I
So
was thinking you may have gone with Tyler. Not gonna lie, but
dude, the guy has 4 points.
like 4 points in general. I mean, that to be
Yeah, he
fair,
has 4 points.
it was not a very good 2 weeks for him. So I mean, last week
That,
or Daytona he wrecked out, and then this week he ended up in the infield. So
ah,
I will
uh,
point out, by the way, that it was nice to see those cars not in the grass, but like when Brad got spun out. I don't know if he actually had
it.
flat tires, but it was nice to see them be able to just drive away from it rather than
You
having to
mean
get towed back or
yeah?
pushed.
But also, what was nice is when we went through the grass, they didn't look like Brandon Jones's car.
This is true. This is very true.
Speaking of Brandon Jones, can that guy not spin off turn 4 at California? Like, because he was like, I got to do it one more time for old time's sake.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think the only thing that's going to be
destroys.
cemented in my mind is that bright yellow car spinning off turn 4 every year.
That's fair.
So,
A memorable sight. All right. Well, I think that'll do it here. Got all
oh,
our picks done, and yeah.
also real quick, Formula One is back this week at Bahrain on Sunday, and IndyCar is in St. Pete as well on Sunday. So we got a bunch of racing back. It is officially 100% back to being race season.
Hell yeah. We love to hear it. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for us here. Michael, send us home.
Oh, as always, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Please hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. It really does help us out. But as always, my name's Michael. His name is Justin, and we will talk to you same time next week.